No two fingers are exactly the same, the print on the finger. And like that, no two people are the same. When you have people who are interacting on an intimate level, on a regular basis, then you are bound to have conflict. Life without conflict is impossible. It's never possible for people to live together without some level of conflict. The Prophet ﷺ also had conflict in his life. There was a period where he stayed away from the Ummahatul Mu'mineen for 1 month. There was issues of conflict between Sayyidah Fatima radiallahu anha and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. And throughout history, there's always been levels of conflict. Conflict can lead to divorce. It can lead to separation. It can lead to breaking of family ties. You'll hear a person say, I don't want to see your face ever again. Don't ever cross my path. And when you see that person, your blood boils. On the other hand, conflict can be managed in a way that it brings you closer. There are negative consequences to conflict. And what such negative consequence of conflict had to be endured by the entire ummah. The Messenger ﷺ in the month of Ramadan came out from his Hujra Mubarak, from his private quarters, with the intention of informing the ummah of the specific night of Laylatul Qadr. But there were 2 Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhuma who were arguing. And as a result of that, he did not inform them which night Laylatul Qadr was. And he said, perhaps there's goodness in this, and search for it in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. But it was as a result of an argument that the ummah was deprived of knowing with certainty the exact night of Laylatul Qadr. And conflict comes about perhaps because of misunderstanding. Sometimes a person says something, gives an instruction, and it's misunderstood. The other day I took my 2 kurtas to the tailor, and I told him to cut the sleeves of one, which was a kurta that was now worn down. And I didn't have any further use for it, so I thought it would be suitable just to have it as a short sleeve kurta. And there was an expensive one, which I wanted him to hem at the bottom. But he misunderstood the instruction and he cut the sleeves of the expensive one. So it was a conflict situation, but it was the result of his misunderstanding. So that is one reason. Another reason you could have conflict is because of different temperaments. There's just a different click, or they don't click because of different temperament. Someone is hot-headed, someone is very calm. So they always, at each other. Or it may be because of different values. A husband and wife come together. The husband came from a family where they would save money. The wife comes from a family where they would spend all the time, spend beyond their means. So that is a potential situation of conflict. And it may be misunderstanding, different temperament, different attitude, or it may be because of just not caring, indifference, contempt, not bothered about others, a narcissistic tendency within a person. So there are different ways of conflict, and conflict comes about in different forms. But getting to the crux of it, what should one do when you find yourself in a conflict situation? Someone said something, it may be your spouse, it may be someone you met at the, on the road. It may be someone yesterday where I was at Home Affairs where the person said something provocative. What do? At that moment, the first thing you need to do is remain calm. Remain calm at that time. And the mechanism that we have to keep us calm is breathing. When you breathe, it brings a balance to your temperament. When you take in fresh air, oxygen, it then nourishes the body. And you hold that breath for a few seconds, and then you release, and all the negativity with the CO2 goes out. So remain calm. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was one day walking, and a Bedouin came and grabbed him and said to him, "Give me from the money that Allah has given you." He could have turned to the Bedouin and said, "You know who you're talking to? Do you talk to your father like that? Do you know who I am? Jibreel comes and talks to me. You got no manners. If you talk to me like that, you'll go to Jahannam." The Prophet ﷺ looked at him and smiled and said, "Give this man some money that will make him happy." such composure, such a calm demeanor. So always remain calm. No matter what the provocation is, they say if you're arguing with someone and you remain calm, even if that person's points appear to be stronger, but the one who remains calm, it will appear as though he's winning the argument. So remain calm. The second thing is, say less. Because when you speak, when your emotions are high, you say things that you will regret afterwards, which you will have to apologize for afterwards. So say less at that time. Shabib bin Shuhaib, rahimahumullah, said that if someone says something and you dislike it, keep quiet. And that which you dislike will come to an end. But if you respond to that, then you will hear more of what you dislike. Because that then extends the argument. And that person will then say a second and a rebuttal and a counter rebuttal. So you'll hear more of what you like. That's why someone came to him and said to him that if you tell me one thing, I'll tell you two things. So he said to him that if you tell me 10 things, I won't say one thing. If you tell me 10 things, I won't say anything. By saying less at the moment, at the heat of the moment, when emotions are running high, when the temperament is imbalanced at that time, when, everyone is at the gloves are off. In those moments, the least you say, the better. So that is the second thing in terms of dealing with an argument. The third thing is that one should always remember the good that that person did for you. Try to focus away from the present conflict and look at the bigger picture. When we fighting with someone, when someone said something, you look at that person in that moment and you want to counterattack. There's many things you can tell that person. But in those moments, to look at the bigger picture, look at the good of the past, look at the favors of that person, look at what she's done for you in the past. Someone came to Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhum to complain about his wife, that she's being very abusive to him. So he came by the door of Sayyidina Umar and he heard Sayyidina Umar's wife, Sayyida Kulthum radiallahu anha, speaking harshly with Sayyidina Umar. So he came there, he listened and he said, you know what? I came to complain about this, but it seems like Sayyidina Umar is on the same boat. What's the use asking him for advice? Rather, let me just go home. So he went away. But as he was leaving, Sayyidina Umar saw him leaving. So Sayyidina Umar called him back and asked him, what is the matter? So he says, I'm having a problem with my wife. She speaks to me very harshly. But I came to seek advice from you and help from you. But I heard you are in the same position like me. So I thought, what's the use asking you for assistance and help? I decided to leave. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said to him that, look, I tolerate some level of harshness from my wife. Because firstly, she is a barrier between me and committing haram. I have a halal way of fulfilling my desires. If it wasn't for her, I would have fallen into haram. That is the first thing. The second thing is that she protects my wealth. She looks after my home when I'm not there. The third thing is she washes my clothing for me. The fourth thing, she looks after the children. And the fifth thing, she prepares meals for me. So if she speaks to me in a harsh way, I think about the 5 things that I benefit from her. And therefore, I overlook that. So the man listened to Sayyidina Umar and says, yes, I enjoy those same benefits, but I've never thought of it in this particular manner. And in future, I will look at what she says and how she responds in light of the favors that I'm enjoying from her. So at the time of conflict, try to draw yourself out of the present conflict and look at the bigger picture. And that will give you a perspective. Focus on the good of that person. The fourth point is that one should have a tolerating nature. You should develop this because this is what is exhorted in the hadith. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Man taraka al-kadhiba, whoever leaves lies, and that person is wrong, but he leaves it because of that, then he will get a house on the side of Jannah. And whoever walks away from an argument, and he is right in that argument, he will get a home in the center of Jannah. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever beautifies his character will get a home in the highest level of Jannah. So that is the reality, that conflict will be there, and you need to overlook it at times. You need to walk away from it. So there was this couple, and the wife had a complaint against the husband. You never replace the lid on the toothpaste. You never replace it. All the years she's been going on. So it was their 21st anniversary. So he thought, what can I give her that will make her happy? So he said, there's one thing that always troubled her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the lid on the toothpaste. So from that day, he started to replace the lid on the toothpaste. And he was waiting for her to say, MashaAllah, well done. You're doing such a great thing. I'm so happy. 1 day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by. Eventually, she speaks up and she says to him, but it's been 1 week now and you haven't been brushing your teeth. So that is how the reality of the situation is, It will come up in different ways. And that is why you need to adopt a tolerating nature. And the fifth point that the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has advised, and in fact, when you understand this, it is a sunnah. And it is a sunnah that not many people are aware of and not many people practice upon. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Takfiru kulli liha'in rakatain. The expiation of an argument is 2 rakat salah. Meaning, if you've had an argument, what to do next? Go chill out with the guys. Take a long walk in the park. Take a drive to the ocean. Go do some fishing. Takfiru kulli lihain. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, arguments will take place. That is what we know. And he said, if an argument has taken place, what you should do is perform 2 rakat salah. Perform wudu, perform 2 rakat salah. That is the expiation of the argument. So after a fight, what you should do is make the 2 rakat salah. This is a sunnah of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which people are not aware of and do not practice on. So arguments will come up from time to time. There will be situations and when it is, when the gloves are off and you then just speak at that moment, emotions are running high. Later on, when things have settled down, when you both are in a better emotional state, then obviously there are certain underlying issues that you would need to address. Otherwise, the situation will come up again. So when speaking at that time, don't blame the person. Always separate the person from the action. That instead of saying, you never pay the bills, so the person doesn't pay the bills on time, or the person doesn't do that, you're an untidy person. Instead of telling the person you're an untidy person, the home is always dirty. Instead of saying that, you say, I do not like it when the home is in an untidy state. So separate the negative behavior from the person. When you tell someone something and you attack the person, that is when an argument will go further. So you always separate the action and present it in such a way that from your own perspective as to what your emotional feelings are in that. And in that way you can then resolve the issue. So sometimes the best way to put an end to an argument is to stop participating in the argument. In conclusion, remember that in every argument, your wife will have the last say. And anything you say after that will be the beginning of another argument. Wa akhir da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.